Very good evening once again, and many thanks for tuning in. This is the news in detail with me, Ethan Tashabia. The RPF Ingotanyi has called on its MPs to prioritize the interests of their constituents and to better reflect the values of a good leader. This was said during the one-day retreat held this Saturday at the party headquarters in Rusororo. We have more.
During
a one-day retreat, MPs from the governing party RPF Ingotanyi took the opportunity to exchange views on improving their responsibilities as public representatives. RPF Ingotanyi Secretary General Francois Ngarambe called on the legislators to practice what they preach. We must be characterized by unity as Rwandans. You do not go to educate Rwandans about unity when you actually are not united. You must be an example in what we teach Rwandans. Rwanda principle should be your guiding principle in everything you do. Using an example of the report of the Auditor General, MP Wimani Maye Jean d'Arc pointed out that as public representatives, they should strive for positive change in efficient use of public resources. The problems in public tender now are many. There is a tendency of subcontracting. If one contractor wins a tender in Karongi, they are also illegally handed a task in Nyagatare district. That is an example. The other is delay in executing public tenders. We need to take steps to see how our decisions are implemented. Participants in the retreat were also briefed on the status of the genocide ideology both in Rwanda and abroad and decided to step up their efforts to fight it. As parliamentarians, how can we partner with forums and associations that fight genocide ideology? We are constantly called to be a leaven of development. How can we use it in our responsibilities? The Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Jean Damascene Bizimana, called on parliamentarians to step up their effort to dispel those who mislead and promote genocide ideology, especially among the Rwandan youth. There is a need for efforts in the diaspora to ensure that Rwandans are brought up in such a way that they are informed about the truth of history and the governance of the country now. The retreat of the RPF Ingotanyi MPs takes place almost 2 years before the end of their term in office and is seen as one of the ways to increase the intensity of what they do so that they can complete their term on a high.
Now, in different parts of the country, people request that health posts should be provided with enhanced capacity for people with non-communicable diseases like diabetes to access the health care there rather than traveling distances looking for the medical care elsewhere. Innocent Mugabo has more.
Those that go to health posts for health services appreciate for having brought health services closer to them, saying this has relieved them from the long distances they used to make to access the services. We no longer travel long distances for medical services. I have come after completing my garden work. Before we used to come early. On the other hand, there are those who go to the hospitals and health centers who say that there are services that should be accessed at health posts due to their necessity. Those suffering from non-communicable diseases say that they are disturbed by the long distances they have to make to the hospital for health care, yet they could access the services at the health posts near them. We had to wake up as early as possible, then also suffer with getting a motor taxi, not forgetting that one also had to move before even having breakfast. Yet us as diabetic people are required to eat on time. If these services are brought closer to us at the health post, we shall be grateful because we are facing a lot of challenges when it comes to making long distances. Although these request that health services are brought closer to them at the health posts, some of these are no longer in service. An example is that of Nemba Cell in Rweru sector in Bugesera district, where locals say they now have to make long distances to access medical care. At first we thought we had got relieved from traveling long distances, but later the health post lacked a permanent doctor and ended up closing.
We request
that you advocate for us for our health post to reopen. The 7-year government's plan includes a pledge to build a health post in each cell by 2024. The head of clinical and public health services at the Ministry of Health says that there is a plan to reform the healthcare system of health posts. In this project, we plan on considering only trained nurses, also making them permanent at these health posts. We also plan to equip them with equipment to test and treat minor diseases. We are working on seeing that those closed reopen and ensure that those still working work properly. In 2,148 cells, 1,179 have health posts. So far, 21 of them provide maternity services. All the 500 maternity cases recorded here have come out successful. The goal is that by 2024, each cell will have a well-working health post. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Many thanks, Innocent, for that report. Now, people in need of driver's license are set to resume training next Monday following ease of COVID-19 restrictions. According to the National Police, more than 90,000 people have registered to take part in the driving tests. Innocent Mugabo still has more.
Driving life is slowly returning to normal at different driving schools around Kigali City. After the National Police announcement on the issuance of both temporary and permanent driving licenses set to begin on the 11th of this month, driving students say this finds them well prepared. We long waited for this, but COVID disrupted everything. I trained how to ride a motorcycle, then we did 3 exams. So I am ready for these coming ones, and I am sure I will get it, and it will help me in my business when it comes to transporting goods to the market. They have given us another chance since the pandemic has reduced its severity. We now have the morale to study, and we are ready to pass. Now, like for us, the youth, the driving permit is a great advantage when it comes to finding jobs. For the cars we do 4 exams. I am patiently waiting and sure that it will all go well and get category B. COVID had made us lose morale, but we are now back on track. On the other hand, driving instructors say that it requires a lot of effort depending on how long the students have spent without training. Some had backslid due to having spent long without training, hence starting afresh. But now they have reached a good level. We urge them to put in more effort because getting a permit requires you to be well prepared to pass the exams. We tried to put in more effort regardless of the big number of students. For example, those that registered for Category E are supposed to have got Category C first. They work as sand truck drivers. Our wish is that they all pass. Rwanda National Police spokesperson CP John Bosco Kabera says that the current situation in Rwanda allows people to apply for a driver's license, not forgetting to protect themselves against the COVID-19 pandemic. Kabera also says that those who haven't seen themselves on the list of those to start exams on Monday should prepare to sit theirs in the next phases. What has changed is that there is now a permanent registration process. The second thing is that we shall always publish a list of those to sit for the exams for a certain period. But this doesn't mean that those not on the list won't be sitting. The list will be made based on how people have registered. Our team after Kigali will go to the southern, western, northern and eastern provinces. Those that weren't considered for the first phase in Kigali will be considered when we get back from the provinces.
aho bagiye naho bavuye bagera amahoro.
According to the Rwanda National Police, there are more than 16,000 registered people in Kigali. Those considered for the first phase are 4,500 people from 3 districts in Kigali City who are set to sit from 11th to 22nd November. The administration of driving schools and traffic laws say that there are more than 70 driving schools in Rwanda. All activities are carried out in accordance with the COVID-19 prevention guidelines. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Many thanks, Innocent, for that report. Now, for so long, Janvier Hitayezu was addicted to drugs, and at some point, he found himself at the rehabilitation center on Iwawa Island in the middle of Lake Kivu. Fast forward, with the help of the rehabilitation program, Hitayezu, now 28 years old, turned his life around, returned to school, and is now one of the few students who passed ordinary level exams with flying colors in the recently released national examination results. This is a story from addiction to triumph.
Hitayezu Janvier left Iwawa Rehabilitation Facility in 2018 after undergoing recovery training on the tiny island of Lake Kivu. He had for long been a drug addict and recovered well to be reintegrated in his community. After undergoing rehabilitation, he decided to start afresh, and the first step was to return to school. He joined lower secondary school. My school journey went well because I took care of myself, and it was in my heart that I wanted to do well, despite the fact that we sat exams amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. I was not discouraged because I had a dream to make my parents and the country proud. Hitayezu is one of the students who passed all-level national exams with flying colors. It is unbelievable how this success came about. But this is not my own making, because I'm a product of the efforts of many people who have encouraged me to keep going, despite my shortcomings. Hitayezu is now eyeing tourism and hospitality in the advanced level of his high school journey. The reason why I want to study tourism is because I like it, but also I'm an artist and a filmmaker, which will be very helpful to me because it will help me to connect with visitors. Tourists want to work with people they can trust. My talent will expose me, which is very helpful. Hitayezu also says that he wants to use his energy to the best of his ability.
His Excellency.
As soon as His Excellency the President said that the youth are the strength of the country, I started reflecting on how I've been wasting my strength on the drugs and other unhelpful things. It's as if I had betrayed the people who helped me since childhood. I had to turn my life around. Right now, even if there was any security issues, I can join in to fight and protect the sovereignty of my country. Hitayezu says that in his art, he focuses on the message about the effects of drug abuse. The first song I have raises awareness against drugs. Currently, it is my focus because I know where I came from, and I want my peers to feel my grief and understand the gravity of this dangerous lifestyle which delayed my studies. I'll sing one verse for you.
Naranzwe n'ubuhemu nkiri mwisi y'umwijima nageze mu ruganda ubundi mwakozwe umutima nakoze ibi byinshi byanyangirije ubuzima mu kubyiruka kwanje.
The director of Apas High School, Mukabakunda Marie Chantal, says teachers are required to work extraordinarily when they see a student like Hitayezu who has not been studying for a while, battling drugs and other addictions.
Uwo mwarimu amenya ngo abanyeshuri bigamo bari mu bihe byinshi.
It is upon teachers to understand the background of every student and to make sure that their teaching style is inclusive, especially in the assessment, and to keep pushing learners to do better. I would personally encourage Hitayezu every time I saw his periodic reports to see how best he can improve on his performance.
Ibisubizo by'ibyo yabonye hamuhamagara tukaganira.
Sagahotu Emmanuel, an expert on fighting addiction from a local NGO known as Hope Ethiopia Rwanda, says change is possible for people who use drugs, especially when families and communities are welcoming of those who have completed their rehabilitation course.